Hi everyone, I'm going to do a tutorial on how I make my armatures. I had some requests that they wanted to see how I do it. This may not be for everyone, but this is a way that I made for myself and I'm comfortable with it. It's a little bit tedious, I think, but I just like the way it works for me. And I feel secure with it also. Okay, the first thing I want to explain is in my other tutorial I explained that you have to have a scale of how large your doll is, and to get that scale you're going to measure the size of your head. So in other words, when I start sculpting I will always make the head first. The reason for this is because if I were to make the body is going to be the size that it is, and then I'm going to have to make that head that size. For me, making the head first and then measuring out the body is so much easier than trying to sculpt a head to match the body. Okay, so I've drawn out a scale, and this is going to be a 9-inch doll, so it's going to be 9 heads. Now what I do is right at the shoulders I draw a line, and that is where my armature is going to be placed in between the polymer clay. And then I want to draw a line where the waist is, and then I have a line here for the groin that was already there for the measurements of my head. I take a piece of tracing paper and I put over it. Now, this does not have to be detailed drawing, and I am not a person that can draw that great, but I can make it work for me. Okay, what I want to do is I'm going to make a line, and I'm going to, it's going to be right here at the groin, and I want it to go up past the head because I want the wire, enough wire to go up through the head. So what I'm going to do is make a line. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little mark right there where the shoulders are, and I'm going to just make a straight line. This is just so that I know that that's where the shoulders is. And then the waist. Now you're going to need a jig. You can make them. I have a few that I've made because I had a much larger doll and my jig wasn't big enough. But I purchased this, it's been many years ago, and it was around I think it was called Fun Wire, but this is called Wild Wire. Maybe it was Wild Wire, but I thought it was Fun Wire. But anyways, it was around all the different colors of wire. And this is what actually got me started to think out my idea for a different armature. So I'm going to place my measurements on here. Now bear with me, you guys, because you need a lot of room with this, and it's hard doing it the way I'm doing it. But I want to get my first peg and then I'm going to put one right around the groin. And then what I'm going to do, kind of just think of the way that the body is shaped. And you don't, again, you do not have to be perfect with this. You just don't want to make this part really big or too small, because if you make it too small, then you're going to have to use more of a filler for the core. That would work for you. If you've got it too big, well then it won't work for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and think it out. And this is going to be the side of the doll. So this would be the breast, and it's kind of like a figure 8. Take it right into the waist. Now the neck isn't straight. The neck is actually off to the front. And we're going to now make the back. Okay, making sure that you got that curvature right in that waist. Okay, then I'm going to make kind of like the buttocks. And just remember that you don't want your wire to go past that groin, because your wire will be sticking out. And you won't want that. I'm just going to bring it up into the waist. Okay, so in other words, here's where the arms would be. Now you don't have to draw this in, I'm just showing you. That's where the arms would be. And then here's where the legs would be. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pegs and I'm going to just go around and put them in. But this one right here, where the waist is, okay, I want 2 of them to be side by side. And then maybe one in here. I think I got that one in wrong. There. And let's see, need some more. Well, sometimes you have to make do with what you have. Okay, I'm going to go off and I'm going to look for some more pegs. I'd like to have one more right in here. If not, we'll make something work. So I'm going to be right back, you guys. Okay, now I'm ready to start wrapping the wire around the pegs. And the one thing that I wanted to mention was I had said to make sure that these 2 are next to each other. If you are a little bit up, not side by side, it's okay. I didn't mean to make it sound like that was an important factor, that you had the 2 lined up. You don't. Okay, I'm going to take my wire, and this is 24 gauge wire, and I'm going to make sure that it's going to be long enough for the head. Now keep in mind too that you're going to be twisting your wire, so you want to make sure that you've got enough wire going up into the head. You don't want to go all through it and find out that you don't have enough. Okay, so I'm going to take my wire, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the right of, now this is, I'm looking down on this, so it would be to the right of the peg, and I'm going to wrap it around it. Not real tight because I'm going to be stretching out that loop. I'm going to take my wire and bring it around, and then the back peg at the waist, I'm going to bring it to the left side of the peg, and then I'm going to bring it up around, and then I am in the center of the two pegs that are at the waist, and I'm going to take the wire and I'm now going to wrap it around the peg that's at the back of the waist. And remember, don't do it real tight. And then I'm going to bring it up around. And I'm going to again wrap it around the peg. And I'll do it one more time, because I'm going to do this 3 times, but I'm trying to make this tutorial as short as I can. Okay, bring it to the left of the peg, around, in between the 2 pegs at the waist, wrap it around the back peg that would be in the back of her waist, back around to the front, up around, and again. And I'll do that 3 times. So I'm going to go ahead, do this off camera, and then I'm going to show you that the next step. Okay, I went ahead, wrapped it around 3 times. Wrap it as many times as you feel that you're comfortable with. I clipped my wire. Now I'm going to take another piece of wire, and what I'm going to do is I want my wire to be at least as long, and then I'm going to cut enough off, and then I'm going to wrap it completely around the wire until I get all the way up to the top. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'm going to show you the next step. Okay, I wanted to show you this because sometimes I can wrap this wire really easy when it's still on the jig, and for some reason today I'm just it's not wanting to make it easy for me. So I'm going to show you another what I do when I come across days like this. I can just pull the wire armature off of the jig. These things that I have inserted are sucker sticks, and I buy them at my local craft store where they have the baking stuff, the pans and the decorators and all that. Well, they have the sucker sticks too. Now they do have a smaller one, and I think this was the largest one that they had. But now the smallest ones, you got to pay attention to that one, because there is a hole that is inside, and that's what I want, is I want that hole. The smaller ones is, excuse me, is that it's going to take a very small wire. I'm using 24 gauge wire, and it goes in pretty good, and I could go a little bit bigger, but I wanted to point that out. So I inserted the sticks into the loops that I made. That's just so that it'll hold it together while I'm wrapping it. Now here's the part that I want to point out, is that the loops, okay, when I take it off the jig, it can sometimes move. So what you want to remember is you want to remember that the loops are going to be on the outside of the armature frame. So I wanted to point that out, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to wrap my wire, and then I'm going to show you what's next. Okay, another important part. As I come to the joint with my wire to wrap, I want to go, and I'm going to bring it up as close as I can. I want my wire to go inside the loop, like this. See if I can get it in there. I want it inside the loop. Okay, now that is nice and tight. So here I take my straw, and when you clip them, you have to sometimes just pinch it a little bit to open up that hole. And I take my sucker stick, and there's no particular size, but I'm going to cut it. Pinch it open. And then I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to run it through that hole. Let me straighten out my wire here. Because it's not that difficult. There. Okay, run it through. Nice and tight. And then I'm going to go back through that loop, inside the loop. Nice and tight. Okay, now I'm ready to start wrapping. And let me, oh here, that's why. Okay. I couldn't figure out why that sucker stick was moving too far. There. Now I have that joint. Okay. Now I'm going to take the rest of my wire and I will just keep wrapping it to bring those wires together. And that's going to make it nice and strong. Okay, so I'm going to go off camera. Okay, I have wrapped my wire all around the armature. And now I'm getting ready to do the where the shoulders would be. So I have my wire right up there, and I'm going to snip this off. And I'm going to take my wire might have to open this. Whoops. Let me try it this way. Like I said, the armatures that I do, I don't whip them up in 5 minutes. So this might not be for everybody, but they work for me. Okay, now I'm going to take this wire, and there's really no right or wrong with this, okay? The only thing that I wanted to point out was that back one. And then this one here, I'm just going to take this wire, and basically I'm going to just run it through really anywhere I can. And when I do armatures, this isn't the only style that I do. It depends on the pose, and it depends on how big my doll is going to be. Okay, then I just take my wire and I take these, and I want to twist it as close as I can to the straw, or I should say the sucker stick. I want to call them straws. Okay, now I'm going to just take my wire and just basically wrap it around it and just go right up it. And sometimes I will even put a steel rod up into the head. It just all depends on the head. Okay, now there you have it. And there's my bend. And then forward. I don't know, I just really like putting these little things in for like little, I call them joints, my little joints. Okay, and then this one for the shoulder, you know, basically you're just bending the neck. So that's not really doing much, but what it is doing is it's actually keeping my wire in a nice, in the shape that I want it to. So it is really doing something for me. And then of course your neck is going to go a little bit to the forward of your doll. Okay, so now the next step is I'm going to show you how I do the hips and the legs. Okay, to make the hips, I've done this on a jig so that you can see what it is that I'm talking about. And basically it's going to be like a shape of a heart. And how I get the measurement for that is if you take your armature and just lay it down and then draw out your heart that way. Or you don't even have to do the jig, you can just make the shape yourself. Okay, I've taken a piece of wire and I've just threaded it through, and it really doesn't matter where you thread it, but what I want to do is I'm going to take one end, and you want to make sure that you've got enough on both ends. I'm going to take it, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep wrapping the front of the bottom of the torso all the way down. Okay, very quickly. I'm going to also do the same thing with this wire that I'm doing with this one. So I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to show you how I get the heart. Okay, I have my wire twisted and I've stopped at the middle of the bottom of the torso, And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to put it right into the center somewhere in there. Bring my wire out. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. And then basically at this point, this is when I just take the wire and I just form a somewhat of a hip bone. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I will take the wire and I will twist these two pieces. I will twist it real tight and then I will cut it. And it'll be underneath that joint so I don't have to worry about it sticking out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to show you how I do the leg. Okay everyone, we're getting to closure with this. And I wanted to show you when I'm ready to connect my legs and arms, I take my armature. Now this one I've already started it because I wanted to do it off camera, so because the tutorial's already getting too long. But I just go ahead and I just put it up on my scale just to make sure that everything is lining up, in which it is. I take a wire, another piece of wire, and I start wrapping it from the back of the buttocks, and I keep bringing it right up to in here, and I keep wrapping it until I make kind of like a ball. And then I am going to take my wire, and I'm not going to do this because I want to work on this a little bit more, but I would take the wire and you want to double that leg, because you're going to take it and very quickly I would take that wire and I would start twisting it all the way up the leg. Then what wire is left, then I just go in there and I just wrap the wire. Now the other leg, I don't usually put another wire unless she's sitting down or you know, it's not a supporting leg. I will use brass tubing for that, so I'm not even going to do that. Now for her arms, you want to take a long piece of wire, and again it's the same way with the legs. You want to make sure that I have double the length in the arms because I'm going to twist my wires. So I take my wire and I'm going to slip it through that sucker stick, that little hole. Now this is the part that I really like in the shoulders, because this sucker stick, it gives me support right here in the neck part. And when I used to not do it this way, I always had problems with my shoulders. They just never looked right. What I figured out for myself is that as I'm working on it, the wire was shifting on me, but I wasn't using epoxy either. So when I started using the straw, I don't know, it started to really give me that support that I needed right there in the neck. And then it gives me enough to where I can bring the shoulders down. This was the greatest thing that I did as far as correcting shoulders for me, because shoulders were very difficult for me. Now then I would pull that through, and again just very quickly I would measure that. Now if you're going to use a wire armature for the hand, then what you can do is you can just go ahead and when you double that, then you've already got your two fingers started. Or you also can, and this is another way that I do it, and I really like it a lot better, is that because the hands are so small for me, what I'll do is I'll take a wire and I'll make the armature for the hand, and then I will actually sculpt the hand on that wire, separate wire. And when I get it the way I want, sometimes I'll cook it at that point. Then I'll take the wire that I have that's going up the hand, then I go and I'll wrap it up into the arm, and then I'll go ahead and I'll build my arm. It makes it so much easier, and then your hands don't get messed up. But when I would twist my wire, you just want to, when you get to the point of where the straw is, and if you've got a lot of wire left over, all I do is I just take the wire and I'll cut off. If it's real long, then I'll just cut off some of it. But I just want to take it and just start working it into the back of the torso of the back, and just wrap it around and then up the neck. And you guys, there you have it. That is the way that I do it. I hope that this was real clear for you, because they're not, to me, they're not anything that I can make in 5 minutes, but I don't want to make it in 5 minutes. I like to really feel it out and basically enjoy this part of it also. So I hope that this has helped you. And this, if you decide to try this, you'll see that each one that you do might not be the same, because I just did this one and it was a little bit different than the one that I've just done. But basically, you're just going for hip joints, your sucker sticks, the curvature in the waist. That to me is the most important part. And then of course I want enough support. So you guys, I hope that this has helped you and you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.